So let's talk about Flex. But first, we need to understand what Flex is. Flex is just a property that we can use on CSS to make beautiful layouts. Okay, to start off, I'm going to create an empty HTML file. And then I'm going to create a div, which I'm going to give the class name of container. And then I'm going to create divs that has the class of item, and this is going to be 8. There we go. So now I'm going to use inner style like this. Refresh, and there we go. So now you can see that we have basically a container. There's the yellow one, which we have 8 divs. So let's start off with Flex. Basically, this divs has block display, as you can see. That's why they are not in row direction. But if we use Flex, what is going to happen? Everything is going to be in a row direction. So this is basically the Flex. If we don't want to this be in a row direction, we can use Flex direction. There's going to be column. You can see that now is in a column direction. And by default, Flex has a row direction. So if you say row, you see that is row. And if I delete the Flex direction, you can see this stays as row direction because it's the default property. So Flex direction, we only have row and column. We also have row reverse. So as you can see, our green is in the first position. If we use row reverse, what is going to happen? It's going to reverse the positions. So this was in the last position and now is in the first, and this was in the first position and now is in the last. And we also have column direction. So now this is in the first position. If I use column reverse, now this is on the last position. And now we have the justify content. So let me say justify content. Let me say something like center. As you can see, nothing happened because this is filling the whole container. But if I say to the cards width be something like 10 or 20, you can see that now they are in the center. If I take off this, they are in the Flex start. That is one of the properties that comes by default. So if I say Flex start, that's going to start from here. That is the default property. But if I use Flex end, what is going to happen? This is going to be on the end position horizontally. We also have space between. What it does is set some space between the items, and this space is equal for each one of the items. And you can see the space between makes the items start from the start and go to the end. But if I use space around, you can see that the result is different. We have a little bit of space here and a little bit of space here, but the distance between here and here are different than here and here. If we don't want this to happen, we can use space eventually. What it does, it sets some space here, and the space from here to here is the same space from here to here. There we go. So now we have other properties like start, that is the same thing as Flex start. It starts from the start, and the end that starts from the end. And we also have left. There's the same thing as start or Flex start, or right. There's the same thing as Flex and end or right. So let's put this on the center. And now what we got is align items. So what we just did now is to justify the content horizontally. What if I want to center the content vertically? What I mean by that is to put this on the center of this container. What I can use is align items. So if I send align item center, you can see that now the items are in the center. So it's the same thing. If I say flex, and this is going to go to here in the vertically position. If I say start, that is the default one. It's going to start from the start. Same thing for the start, the end, flex end, or end. There we go. So justify content is to justify the items horizontally. The align items is to justify the items vertically. But let's say that I'm going to use the flex direction of something like column. If I say justify content that is vertically, that is horizontally, if I say center, what happens now is this: the justify content, when the flex direction is equal to column, it becomes vertically. So now you can see that our items are not in this center how it was supposed to be, but is on this center right here and centralized horizontally. If I want to put this on the center horizontally, what I can do is use align items center. In that way, this is going to be on the center. So if I put flex, something like flex end, this is going to come to here. If I say justify content, and this is going to come from here. So justify content in the row direction is horizontally, and the justify content on the column direction is vertically, as you can see. And the same thing for the align items. For the row position, this centers or align the items vertically, but on the column direction, it centers the items horizontally. So as you can see, if I use flex start, this is not going to come to here, but it's going to come to here because it's centering in that way. And now we have flex wrap. So let me just take off all of these properties. And as you can see, our child size is 20. What if I say 100 pixels? You can see that the size of this is not really 100 pixels. That's because flex makes the items flex. So this is not really 100 pixels because by default, we have a property named flex wrap that is set to no wrap. What it basically means is to make that the items don't go below of another. But if I set flex wrap to wrap, what happens is that the items goes down, as you can see. And now we have 100 pixels on each item. So basically what flex wraps do, it makes the items go down if we want. If I say no wrap, this is the default one, it stays as before. We also have a property named wrap reverse that the green starts here. If I use wrap reverse, the green is going to start from here. So this is basically it. And then we have flex flow. So flex flow is basically a way to recombine the flex direction. Let's say column and flex wrap. Let's say wrap like this. So now you can see we have a wrapped column. So if I want to use flex flow, it's just a better way to combine these two properties in just one line. So if I say something like column wrap, you see that the result is the same. If I say row wrap, we have the row base wrapped. If I say no wrap, it stays as in this same line. If I say column no wrap, reverse wrap, you see that now this is reversed in the column direction and with a wrap property. So flex flow is just to combine the flex direction and the flex wrap. And now we have the line content. And align content is a special property because it only works with the flex wrap. So let me say flex wrap to wrap this. And let me increase here the size so it actually wraps. There we go. You see that we have these little spaces right here. And this happened because of the align content. Let's say that I don't want these little spaces right here and I want the items to be on the center. So this item I want to be right here so it actually comes to the center. So what I can do is use align content and I can set this to center. In that way we have our items in the center position. And what if I want my items something like here? I want my items to start from here and be all together. I can use flex start, align content start. Now I have my items right here. And the same thing, if I want the items down here, what I can use is flex end, like this. So what if I want some space here? There's the same space to here and the items be in the center. I can use space around, like this. So now they are on the center. I have some spaces here and other spaces right here. And finally we have the gap. So let me just put this all together. So I'm going to use align content, flex start. Nice. So now you see that they are all together next to each other. But what if I want to they be distant from another? I can use column gap, and we also have row gap. Column gap makes some distance in the column direction. If I want to this item be distant from this one, I can use something like 5 pixels. In the way we have a little space from here. We are, of course, we can increase or decrease the size. Let me say 50 pixels. Then we have some space here. And what if I want some space like from here to here? What I can use is column gap. So if I send to 10 pixels, we have some space right here. But we have a special property that is gap. So what a gap does is to combine the column gap and the row gap. So if we hover here, you can see that the first parameter that we pass is the row gap and the second one is the column gap. So let me just take up the column gap right here. Let me say I want in the row gap, so it's going to make some distance from here to here of 10 pixels, and in the column to 60 pixels. There we go. So now we have some space from here to here of 50 pixels. So it's just a better way to combine the both. What if I want to say that the gap row and the gap column have the same distance? I can make like this, 10 pixels, 10 pixels, and we have 10 pixels in the column and in the row direction. But I can just say 10 pixels in that way. So the result is the same, but I'm defining the both in a much better way. And that's it.